Hey everyone, this is Jim and John, and we're back for episode number 2 of Food is Medicine. And today we are going to be talking about cholesterol. You can see we've got our old school background in place right now. And you know, the interesting thing with cholesterol, I think that we always want to start with why, right? Why is it important to understand cholesterol? And at the end of the day, kind of what is it? So, John, just a little bit of insight into that.
Yeah, cholesterol is kind of, a mysterious, we talk about it in ways that are, a little mysterious, but it kind of has this negative connotation, but cholesterol really is essential. It is one of 3 types of fats. It's not as common, but very important. It helps hold our cell walls together. It helps to build essential hormones, things like testosterone, progesterone, and vitamin D. And it also helps to carry, because we're mostly made of water, it helps to carry fats through the blood and keep them soluble, which is, very important for many different functions. But that's kind of the function of cholesterol in the body. And the problem with most things health is just balancing that through food and exercise.
I'm glad you mentioned the blood because I hear people talk about high cholesterol foods. And then I hear people talk about, I go get my blood test like everybody else, and I get back this borderline 240 high cholesterol kind of thing. So we talk about cholesterol in food, cholesterol in blood. How are they different? How are they the same?
Yeah, so the molecules essentially are the same, but there's not a direct conversion from the cholesterol in food to cholesterol in blood. So cholesterol in food, it's the same molecule essentially, but the cholesterol we get from food is broken down in a way that it doesn't fully convert to the blood cholesterol, and actually saturated fat is more linked to blood cholesterol than the dietary cholesterol. So cholesterol in the blood is more of what we talk about with your blood results, the HDL, the LDL, and we'll get more into that later, but we think of the dietary cholesterol as being the contributing factor, but it's really more the other things in diet that help to kind of drive up, the blood cholesterol.
Interesting. So, the topic of our podcast series is Food is Medicine. Which foods contain cholesterol? Are some foods higher in cholesterol, some lower?
Yes. So when you look at cholesterol, or really any nutrient in food, those nutrients are related to, whatever we're eating doesn't care about our nutrient needs, they care about their own. So you're only going to find cholesterol in animal-based foods because those are the, animals need to make steroid hormones and vitamin D just like we do. So they use cholesterol in the same way. Plants will not have cholesterol. They do have, some similar, type compounds sometimes, like phytosterols and things like that. But those actually, if anything, can help to drive down cholesterol. So things like eggs, milk, chicken, beef, those have cholesterol. But as we kind of alluded to earlier, cholesterol isn't exactly a nutrient that we're concerned about. I never worry too much about cholesterol with anyone as long as the other things in their diet are well balanced.
Yeah, you just kind of touched on it earlier, and I think we've all heard the when we go to the doctors, we get blood, we hear about good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. What's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so I'll start by identifying what's what. Good cholesterol is, we call that HDL, stands for high density lipoprotein, which is a mouthful. High density relating to, it's heavier. Lipoprotein, meaning it's part fat and part protein, which is what allows it to kind of be soluble in the blood, versus the bad cholesterol, or LDL, which is the low density lipoprotein, and that one tends to be bad as well. But they both play a role in carrying fat throughout the body. And again, this is where, with everything health, balance is the key. HDL plays a role in returning cholesterol to the liver to be recycled. When it comes to nutrition and health, the liver is probably one of the more important organs, something that's not often talked about, but it has over 500 different functions, making things related to processing cholesterol being one of them. And then you have LDL, which has the exact opposite role, which is to take cholesterol from the liver and distribute that to our body tissues that need it to make those hormones and build those cell walls and do all those other things we talked about.
That's interesting. So using myself as an example again, I talked about a cholesterol score of 240, right? So if I were a client of yours,
Mm-hmm.
what might you tell me to eat to possibly lower that? And in addition to just foods and that, what about supplements? I know a lot of people do a lot of different supplements. Here we would like to promote, the natural, organic supplements and that. Also, supplements that could help in addition to that in terms of either just keeping an already good cholesterol level solid, or in the case of somebody like me that's got a high one, how do I go about, making sure that I'm doing the things that I can control to, get that in a more acceptable range?
Sure. I think people, because of the, confusion between blood cholesterol and dietary cholesterol, people always start with trying to omit animal-based foods from their diet, which makes sense, but a more efficacious approach, you might say, is by adding things like fiber, especially the soluble fibers. We know that can help to drive down the bad cholesterol, and that's for a couple of reasons. We think of cholesterol coming from food, but another one of cholesterol's most important roles that we haven't even talked about yet is cholesterol is essential for the formation of bile, which is used to help digest fats and a few other things in our body. But when we add things like soluble fiber to our diet, to take a step back, bile is kind of released early in the small intestine, and then most of it is recycled because our bodies are so incredibly efficient. Most of it ends up getting recycled in the large intestine right as we're about to get ready to finish that digestive process. So by adding soluble fibers, that soluble fiber binds to the cholesterol, and then we excrete more of it, which forces us internally to make more and helps to lower our blood cholesterol, because that's kind of draining the pool in a sense. And then you talk about things like exercise, which can help to raise HDL and help to lower LDL as well. Having a healthy mitochondria can help with all that. And what is a soluble fiber would be the logical next question. And I think you don't have to complicate it too much. There's insoluble fibers and soluble fibers, but when it comes to fiber, you get cholesterol from animal foods, you get fiber from plant-based foods. Those fibers coming from things like beans, could be nuts, things like various seeds, pumpkin seeds, whole grains tend to be a good source of soluble fiber, beans, mushrooms, fruits, vegetables. You don't have to overcomplicate it too much, but and there are various types of soluble fibers. Again, this kind of goes pretty deep, but at the end of the day, just trying to eat more fiber, more plant-based foods, and not that you have to omit the dietary cholesterol, but I always think pairing a cholesterol-containing food with a type of fiber. Quick example could be, you don't have to, skip your 4th of July cheeseburger. Just add, the lettuce, tomato, onion. I think people are always thinking about cutting things back, but adding things in that way can help to drive down your cholesterol and help balance the diet. And every kind of meal goes through its own digestive process, so getting that at every meal and not just once a day can help to drive that down. With supplements, things like red rice yeast extract has shown to be pretty strongly effective, and that is comparable, not totally comparable, but has a similar mechanism to things like statins, that are the drugs that we use to drive down cholesterol, getting more healthy fats. So Saturated fats can drive up cholesterol, but we don't, the unsaturated fats from things like the nuts, the seeds, fatty fish, salmon can help to drive, drive that down in an opposite way. Even things like niacin, which is a B vitamin, berberine, soy ingredients have shown things like tofu can help to have a similar effect, but it's really all about balance. So, getting a healthy fat profile, making sure that, you're not over consuming unsaturated fats. If you are having saturated fats, pairing that with fiber, and then, sprinkling in those unsaturated fats from fish oil, olive oil, canola, those kinds of things can help as well.
Nice. And so you kind of get a glimpse from John, our registered dietitian at Five Bridges, about just there is so much that goes into a healthy diet. And he mentioned just the fitness piece, right? I mean, at Five Bridges, we talk about total health, right? And part of it's fitness, part of it's nutrition, part of it's the education, which we're trying to provide here. And I mentioned previously that, you don't need to be a member of our club to take advantage of John's services. And I also mentioned previously that, if you have Highmark, if you have Capital Blue, if you have Cigna, if you have United Health or Humana or Aetna Insurance, we have been very successful of getting all of his services covered with that as well. So stay tuned for an upcoming episode. We're going to be walking through a lot of things. Yes, we will get to weight loss at some particular point in time, but we're very thoughtful around the idea that nutrition is just way beyond just weight loss. There are things, quite frankly, that are more important that need to take place during that journey. So thanks for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you in a future episode.